You know this feeling. You're in the supermarket, walking down the aisle, and without even really thinking about it, you grab that same box of cereal, that same tube of toothpaste. It feels like a simple choice, but it's actually a multi-billion-dollar puzzle that tells us a whole lot about how our own minds work.
So, let's try to solve this little mystery. Why do we do this? We consistently pick one brand over another, even when, for all intents and purposes, the products are identical. What is actually going on there?
No, really, think about it for a second. Why that one? Is it just a habit? Is it trust? Or is there something else going on? This isn't just about what's inside the package. It's about what's going on inside our heads.
And here's where it gets kind of weird. We will happily pay more for a brand name like Advil, even when the store brand right next to it has the exact same active ingredient. And you know what? Studies show that in blind taste tests, most of us can't even tell our favorite brands from the others. So, we're paying extra for what exactly?
To really crack this case, we have to start by looking inward. We have to look at the psychology, at these powerful forces that are shaping our decisions before we even know we're making one.
See, here's the thing. We don't just consume a product. We consume the brand. There's this classic study from way back in 1964 where people said their favorite beer tasted better than the others, but only when they could see the labels. When the labels were off, they had no idea which was which. The brand, the idea of the brand, literally made the beer taste better.
A big reason for this is that our brains are, well, what psychologists call cognitive misers. It's a great term. It basically means our brains are wired to be lazy, to save mental energy whenever possible. We are built to take shortcuts.
And honestly, you can't blame them. I mean, you walk down the jam aisle and there are dozens and dozens of choices. It would be totally overwhelming to rationally think through every single option. So what does your brain do? It uses the brand you know as a shortcut, a quick and easy path to a decision it can feel good about.
This quote really just nails it. As long as that brand didn't fail you last time, why bother with the effort of not being loyal? Your brain successfully took the shortcut, and now it can move on to the next one of the 100 decisions you have to make in that store.
But okay, it's not all in our heads. The brands we stick with are also deeply, deeply shaped by our own personal history, like where we grew up, and maybe most importantly, what our parents used to buy.
Research shows that brands have this incredible home field advantage. The very first brand to show up in a market often stays the top dog for over a century. For example, people out in Portland, Oregon tend to buy Folgers coffee, which got its start not too far away in San Francisco. But people in Cleveland, they're more likely to buy Maxwell House, which started much closer to them.
And these preferences are unbelievably sticky. One study actually looked at people who moved to completely new cities. And yeah, they adopted about 60% of the local favorites pretty quick. But a solid 40% of their original brand loyalties, they stuck around for decades, long after the move. That's how powerful that early exposure is.
Because it all starts when we're kids, right? The brands your parents had in the house become your brain's default setting for that whole category of product. If you grew up with Tide in the laundry room, then for the rest of your life, the very idea of laundry detergent might just be that bright orange box in your mind.
So we're wired to take these mental shortcuts, and we're shaped by our past. But on top of all that, there are also these powerful forces that actively make it harder for us to learn that, hey, maybe the generic version is just as good.
This picture right here is the classic dilemma. Two bottles, both promising to get rid of your headache. They have the same active ingredient, but for some reason, our brains just get stuck on the more expensive one. Let's dig into why that is.
Psychologists call this phenomenon blocking, and it works like this. If the first thing you learn is that Tylenol cures your headache, your brain forges a strong link between that brand name and the relief. That initial knowledge then blocks you from easily learning that it's really the acetaminophen inside that's doing all the work. The brand gets all the credit.
And the price we all pay for this little mental quirk is just staggering. Researchers did the math, and they figured out that if American consumers just chose the store brand every time, they would collectively save $44 billion every single year.
So who actually sees past all this brand stuff? Well, experts do. Pharmacists know the drugs are chemically identical, so of course they buy generic. Chefs know store-brand flour is just fine, so they buy generic. But here's the funny part. That expertise doesn't cross over. The pharmacist is just as likely to overpay for name-brand flour, and the chef is just as likely to buy brand-name painkillers. Now, for the last 100 years or so, these forces we've talked about have been incredibly stable.
But today, the entire game is being shaken up by technology, and the future of brand loyalty is being totally rewritten as we speak.
First, you've got the online disruptors. Companies like Harry's for razors can just completely bypass the old way of doing things. They sell high-quality stuff directly to you online, and in the process, they're stealing huge chunks of the market from giants that have been around for a century.
The second massive change is the rise of really good store brands. I mean, think about Trader Joe's. They've basically turned their own private label into a destination brand. We're all being retrained to be loyal to the store itself because they have unique, cool stuff you just can't get anywhere else.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, a lot of experts think we're going to see fewer new global mega brands. Instead, the future might belong to thousands of smaller, more local, more customized brands that can connect with people in a way that some giant corporation or even Amazon just can't.
And that leaves us with one final fascinating question to think about. As our refrigerators start ordering our milk for us and AI assistants make more and more of our choices, what happens to that deep-seated brand loyalty? Will we stick with the names we know, or will we transfer that loyalty to the algorithm that promises it can always find us the best deal no matter what name is on the box?